Can you talk about when you went to Tisch for film and television, what was the curriculum regarding writing at that time? And if you were to take it today and teach a class there, what would you add to it? What would you change, keep the same?
Well, there wasn't a ton of screenwriting when I was there. My favorite class was screenplay analysis, and no shocker there. The first produced screenplay that I read was in that class. We read The Silence of the Lambs, which was a really great script. And it was interesting because that script was exactly 120 pages. And they always say 1 page equals 1 minute. So it was exactly 120 minutes, 2 hours. And that got me thinking, how would this writer know that he's going to end exactly 2 hours in, 120 pages in? And then in the course of the class, we learned about structure and how important structure was, and that it was structured exactly to end on page 120.
You said there weren't too many classes on writing there, and of course the ones that
At the
were
time,
that
yeah.
you loved. How would you expand on it today, knowing today's landscape in terms of these different sort of core formats? What would you add to the curriculum? Let's say they invited you to come back as a teacher, a professor.
Well, I think I would definitely emphasize television, the long-form scripted television writing form. And I would probably emphasize low-budget filmmaking, writing something that could be shot on a low budget. Now, films are being shot on iPhones, and they're getting released in theaters, and they're getting nominated for awards and winning awards. So I would go in and tell these kids, they probably already know it, but you can shoot a movie on anything, on any topic, on any type of equipment, and if it's good and it has a great story, it could have an afterlife. But it still has to have that great story. So it doesn't matter what technology you use, I would say learn about screenwriting and learn about structure and focus on the writing first.
And in terms of the actual breakdown of writing a screenplay, what do you think you would focus on more in terms of structure or dialogue or?
Like for students?
Yeah, if you were to come back as a professor and have say with the curriculum.
I mean, I would most definitely focus on structure the most. I think just flowing, short, tight storytelling. There's nothing better than a 2-page scene that really advances the story and surprises us and brings up a turn in direction and shows us an element of the character that we didn't see coming. It's all about surprise and subverting our expectations. That's why it's so important not to have cliches, because the audience and the reader doesn't want to know what's going to happen because it's compelling if they're surprised. So I would probably emphasize that structure and surprising storytelling, not cliche storytelling.
So you went into the program thinking about the industry and knowing there were certain films that you wanted to write in a similar genre and similar voice. When you came out of the program, what did the real world show you? What was an eye-opener? What was maybe a disappointment? What was more of an unplanned sort of joyous discovery about the industry?
Well, it took me a while to realize that working in the industry at a day job, you don't have to be creative. They don't want you to be creative unless you're in a creative position. So I was so obsessed with selling a screenplay and directing my first film when I was in my early 20s. And I was doing my first day jobs as interns, as an administrative assistant, as a reader. And I was always looking for a way to impress the boss so that they would eventually bankroll my film or buy my script. And what I didn't realize was it was all about just working hard, put your head down, work harder than the next guy. And then if you work hard enough and they believe in you because you've worked so hard and shown that initiative and taken any job out there, no matter how, any task they give you, no matter how bad or ugly or gross or whatever, take that job, do the best job you can at it, do it 120%, and that's what's going to get you hired. That's what's going to get you the better position to move up the ladder.
So when you say they don't necessarily want people that are creative, that's interesting. So even if you're a fantastic writer, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a certain job where writing skills aren't maybe at the forefront of what you're doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like if you're working in development, your job is to evaluate material and develop material for your employer's company. You know, it's not to write your own script. It's to find material that's right for your employer, and then develop that material so that it can be a greenlit film. So if you're a screenwriter working in development, let's say you're an assistant to a creative director or a director of development at a studio, they don't want you to be writing your screenplay, 2 hours of the day. They want you to support them in finding great material elsewhere.
Right. Do you think internships are good for someone coming out of film school?
Yeah, I definitely think so. It can be challenging because how do you pay your rent if you're working at a free internship? And that's one challenge that I had as well. I used to do temp work. I used to do administrative assistant temp work at the time, and try to do internships at the same time, which was challenging.
Oh wow!
But yeah, definitely internships. But the main advice is just work hard. Work harder than the next guy.
That sounds like a lot. How did you juggle that?
Well, it was tough. I would try to get temp jobs. I would tell my supervisors at the temp company that I wanted jobs that were only like 1, 2, or 3 days. And then hopefully that would make me enough money maybe for a couple weeks. And then those 2 or 3 days that I wasn't working that week, I would go into the internship at the film company.
Oh, interesting.
It was tough, but I figured it out somehow.